What's up, friends? Thank you for joining me today. I am here to talk about 10 things that I wish I would have known before I got pregnant. I wanted to let you know before we start this is that if you stay tuned till the end, make sure you do, because there's going to be some pretty cute guest appearances at the end of this video. And also, bonus tip, just a little disclaimer, just want to put out what I went through, not necessarily what everybody goes through. For some of you may relate to this and some of you may not. I just know that I wish I would have known these things before I got pregnant. Not that it would have changed anything, but just to be kind of a heads up before I went through pregnancy. I don't know why I did this. That made no sense. So we're gonna go ahead and get started.
4 and 3 and 2 and 1.
First things first on the realist. All right, so to start, number one, if you are a fertile myrtle like me, you could drop 2 eggs during ovulation, have 2 little swimmers, fertilize those eggs, and end up with twins. So in our case, we ended up getting pregnant naturally with twins, which was a huge blessing. We were shocked to find out we were pregnant to begin with, and then at our 8-week appointment when we found out we had twins, we were even more shocked. We have 2 new baby boys, and so this is just some of the stuff that I wanted to let people know of, is that it is possible to happen naturally. So tip number 2, know that you will be exhausted. I could not even fathom how tired I was. And when I look back at it now, I was like, ah, you weren't tired at all now that the boys are here. But bless you. I work a full-time job. I would come home for lunch. This was pre-pregnancy. And have lunch with my husband every day. We get to spend about an hour together before I'd have to go back to work and then come home to see him again. When I got pregnant, I would come home for lunch, as I usually do, but instead of taking, 10, 20, 30 minutes to eat and watch a little bit of TV, I would take 5 minutes to eat and spend the rest of the time sleeping, because I honestly could not make it throughout the day without taking a nap. It was awful. Excited when I was so excited when that part of it was over. I can't say that it lasted just the first trimester. I definitely felt tired all the time, but the beginning stages of the pregnancy were definitely the worst, and I felt the most exhausted. So I kind of went a little bit into the second trimester, but any chance you have to take a nap, take a nap, because growing a human is freaking hard work. Number 3 is going to be your hunger levels. I was basically eating like I had never eaten in my life before. I could not eat enough. I ate all the cake and all the pizza and all the ice cream and all the pasta. I ate everything. I actually started off, before I got pregnant, on the keto diet. I was actually working with a friend of mine to help me lose weight. And I found out probably about 3 weeks into the keto diet or 4 weeks into the keto diet that I was pregnant with twins. And I was like, oh, I'm totally going to keep doing this. I'm going to stay with keto because I want to be lean while I'm getting pregnant. I want the baby to get all the good nutrients, yada, yada, yada. Or babies, I should say. I couldn't stand the thought of any of the food that I was eating on keto. My husband would always ask me in the morning, oh, do you want me to cook you breakfast? And I was like, yeah, sure. And he's like, bacon and eggs. And I was like, no. Honestly, the thought of some of the foods that I was eating on a regular basis made me want to vomit, which nausea happens. I don't need to add that in here because I'm sure everybody knows that nausea happens. I could not eat any of the foods that I was used to eating. And I basically was deficient in carbs, because if you're not familiar with the keto diet, it is a low carb diet. I think it was under 40 carb or under 50 carbs total for the day. So when I got pregnant, all I wanted was carbs. And I literally was only eating carbs. We had like fruits and vegetables and like really healthy food all in the fridge. As soon as I found out and could not eat any of the foods that we were eating on keto, the entire cupboard was just filled with macaroni and cheese, regular pasta, bread. And then the freezer had ice cream and popcorn, yes. And the freezer had ice cream and popsicles. I legit ate all the food, all of it. So just know, again, you're growing a human. It's going to take a lot of energy and all of your nutrients to grow that human. Again, personally, I only craved foods I was deficient in. That may not happen for you. You may just crave all the foods, which is fine too, because you should just eat all the food. Tip number 4, everything grows. In my case, I grew everywhere. My arms were pregnant, my face was pregnant, my legs were pregnant, my feet were pregnant, my hands were pregnant, my whole body was pregnant. So to kind of give you like a preface as or who I was before I got pregnant was I was like an avid gym goer. I was on a really strict regimen for food. I would go to the gym 4 or 5 days a week, sometimes 6. I would meal prep, all of that. So when I got pregnant and all of that weight gain happened, mind you, I gained at the end of the pregnancy, I gained a total of like 65 pounds or so. And I gained the majority of it in the first trimester. I could not even understand what was happening. It was really hard to deal with, and it was not something that I expected. At 20 weeks is usually around like a singleton is when people start to show. I feel like that's at least what my experience is. I was showing at 8 weeks. And when I say everything grew, like I had to buy new shoes because my feet were getting bigger. I mean, I literally looked like Shrek. So I had to get new shoes. My hands were growing, so my wedding ring didn't fit. I had to constantly buy new clothes because my legs kept getting bigger. The maternity little stretchy part of the pants were great, but like legs were too tight and I looked like I was wearing leggings at work. So just know that if you start to see weight gain in other parts of your body, not just your belly, don't freak out because that's just what happens. Your body gets bigger. You gain weight because you're growing a human. But just remember that. So don't get too discouraged. I know it was really hard for me. I did get discouraged. I hated it, but I had a great support system. My husband and a couple of my coworkers would constantly talk me off the ledge about the weight gain and, made me feel okay about eating all the foods. So I'm going to make you feel okay about it. Eat all the foods, eat the cake, eat the ice cream, eat the pizza, eat the pasta, do whatever it is that you got to do. Okay. You do you, boo boo. All right. So tip number 5, people are going to want to know everything about your pregnancy and your baby. And when I say that, they're going to want to know how you got pregnant. We all know how you get pregnant. When you got pregnant, what's the due date? What's the gender? Do you have a name picked out? Social security number, blood type, hair color, foot size. I mean, they're literally going to want to know all the things. And you're like, bro, step back, okay? Because I don't even know who you are. It's different when your family asks about it, or your coworkers or your friends, but like perfect strangers are going to approach you when you're out and say things like, oh my God, you're huge, or oh my God, you look like you're going to pop right now, or oh my God, are you going to deliver that baby right here? And you're like, did you want to get throat punched? Because you're about to. Just know that the most obscene things are going to be said to you, and you have to try and keep it together. I don't know what it is about pregnant women, but people are so weird about pregnant women. They don't know what to say. They don't know how to act. Like, it's so strange. So try to keep it together when people talk to you. It's because I don't know what to say to you when they say that. I'm going to be like, Basically, what I'm trying to say is feel okay if you walk away from these people that you don't know. It's all right. In the beginning, it's fun. Everyone's congratulating you, and you're super excited about it too. But then as the pregnancy goes on, you just kind of want to not talk about it. So it's okay if you walk away from people or you don't really feel like having that conversation with people. So you don't have to divulge that information to anybody, really. But just know it's going to happen. It's tip number 6, sex drive. Some women will have huge sex drives throughout their entire pregnancy, or just the second trimester, or just the third trimester. Some women won't have a sex drive at all. My personal experience is I was not having it. It was not happening. Praise my husband for sticking around, right? But I just didn't feel comfortable. In the first 3 months, I gained 30 pounds, so it was like I wasn't feeling the best about myself. It's okay if that happens. So you kind of have to have that conversation with your partner and let them know like what's happening with you, where you're at psychologically, why you're not feeling like it, or whatever it might be. Because if the person that you're with is unhappy with the fact that you aren't having sex with them on a regular basis, they're going to need to open their eyes a little bit and realize what's actually happening to your body. So have that conversation, but just know that it is okay if you don't feel like having sex, okay? If you don't feel like having sex, don't have sex, because you are making a human. Again, you're making a human. So sometimes it puts a little bit of strain on your psyche and on your body, all that other stuff. So have that conversation. Make sure that you are open about it with your partner. Tip number 8. I hated pregnancy. Hated it. And if you're one of those people that hated it or hates it as well, that's fine. It's okay. you're making a human. It's mentally straining, physically straining, emotionally straining. It is just a roller coaster. I mean, one day you're laughing, or actually, I should say, 1 minute you're laughing, the next minute you're crying, the next minute you're throwing up, whatever it might be. You're going through so many different things in 9 to 10 months that you just may not like it, and that's all right. But for the women that like it, I praise you, because I hated it, and there was nothing about it that I enjoyed other than the fact that it brought me my 2 boys now. So don't be afraid to voice that you just didn't like it. Tip number 8. Simple tasks will become mission impossible. As around your 3rd trimester, things are going to get difficult. It'll be difficult for you to sleep on your side, for you to get out of bed. You're going to be going to the bathroom literally all the time. And when you go to the bathroom, have fun trying to reach behind you to wipe, because that shit is hard when you have a huge belly. That part of it got hard for me, like 2nd trimester. So I was pregnant in the wintertime, and I would wear tights under a dress. Trying to put on tights was freaking impossible. I was sweating by the time I was done. Putting on pants, walking upstairs, the simplest things that you do every day that you take for granted end up becoming really hard. So don't be too hard on yourself. Hopefully you have a great support system at home that will help you put those shoes on, or help you put your pants on, or carry you up the stairs. Probably not gonna happen, but still, get somebody there to help you. I remember I was on a work trip. We had a meeting during the day, and then we had a social event at night. I don't know why I did this. That made no sense. And I was in my hotel, and I had to put my shoes on by myself. And that was the first time I'd had to do it since getting pregnant, because I had my husband to help me. And I was probably 28, 29 weeks pregnant at the time. And when I came down from my hotel room, I was like, oh my God, well, you guess what? I put my shoes on by myself. They weren't tied, but I put them on. So it was a huge accomplishment, but everything gets tougher the bigger you get. Tip number 9 for you to understand how pregnancy works is only going to be for you to go through it, because every single pregnancy is different. You may relate to a couple of the ones that I've listed, and you may not relate to some of them, because my pregnancy is going to be different than your pregnancy. Your friend's pregnancy is going to be different than your pregnancy. Your sisters, your moms, your aunts, your cousin. Anybody that you come in contact with is going to have a completely different experience than yours. So don't compare yourself to them. If you're going through something that you're not sure is normal, or that you feel like you need to talk to somebody about, talk to your doctor. They're going to know, because they're going to have heard literally every case that you could possibly think of, because of how many women they've come in contact with as far as having babies. Just remember that any of the research that you do may not relate to you. You may not go through the nausea that I went through, or the exhaustion that I went through, or the hunger that I went through, but you may go through hating pregnancy like I did, or having twins like I did. So it's okay to not have the same pregnancy as the next person, especially if it's your first, because you have no idea. I didn't have any idea. These were my first 2, so I didn't know what I was supposed to expect when I got pregnant. Just keep in mind that just because somebody else went through it doesn't mean you are. And tip number 10. This is the big one. You are creating a life, and you are a badass motherfucker for doing it, because your body is changing so much. But when that baby comes out after the 9 to 10 months of torture or bliss, whatever you want to call it, so worth it. Even the late nights and the early mornings and the constant feeding and crying possibly is worth it. You have to know that it's definitely worth the journey, and that whatever you're going through and whatever you're being put through, and all of the strain or all of the happy times or all of the tears or whatever it is that you're feeling or going through, it will be over, and you will have your human that you built. Okay, so for my bonus tip, if your birth plan doesn't go the way you thought it was going to, do not be hard on yourself. In the beginning of my pregnancy, I was like, I'm just gonna deliver them vaginally. There was no questions asked. Then, of course, I started doing research, and then I kept battling myself through the pregnancy about vaginal or C-section, whatever it was. I couldn't make a decision. It was really tough because I didn't know what was better. Should I wait to heal for 8 weeks? Should I have to pee when I sneeze or cough or laugh? Which one did I want to go through? What kind of healing process did I want to go through? Was it really my choice? And all this other stuff. So the reason I'm saying it wasn't my choice is because there was 2 in there. If there was a breech baby, they really wouldn't have had the option of doing vaginal. When we delivered, Sebastian ended up being breached the whole pregnancy and he had not flipped. And since I went into preterm labor, he was still not flipped. So it was decided for me that I was going to have a C-section to make sure that baby B, Sebastian, came out safe and healthy, and I was safe and healthy. So if you had a plan to go naturally, but the pain is too much and then you ended up having to have an epidural, that happens. If you wanted to go vaginally, but you had to have a C-section because the baby wouldn't flip, or the baby flipped at the last moment, or whatever it might be, don't feel bad about it. The most important thing is that you and your baby are healthy and safe at the end of the pregnancy, at the end of the deliveries. It's so hard to plan for when your baby is going to be here. I am so happy I had a C-section. I could not be happier. My doctor was amazing. The babies are 1 minute apart and I am healed. I'm able to start working out already. Yeah, there's a scar there, but what does that matter, you know? And that's the thing, is that was the way for them to come out healthy. And I wasn't gonna tell the doctor any other way. Don't feel bad or don't be upset, or I can say that to you, it's easier said than done, but try not to be so hard on yourself if your birth plan doesn't go exactly the way you wanted it to. I would love to hear from you guys about the video, anything that you want to comment on. Comment below. If you're thinking about getting pregnant, or if you're in the early stages of pregnancy, comment below about things that you wish you would have known, or for the women that aren't pregnant, things that you're nervous about, or that you're, have heard horror stories about, or even good stories, whatever it might be. Let me know what it is that you've heard, because I'd love to hear some extra tips if I didn't talk about them, and especially if you want someone just to talk to. I'm happy to respond to any of the comments. If there's something that I didn't list on this list here for you, I would just love to hear some of the things that you've heard or read or anything like that, to maybe give you some insight on it. So, as promised, my guest appearances are my two little boys, so that you guys can see what I made from my pregnancy. So first we have Mr. Maverick. Hey, buddy. Mr. Mavy. So this is Maverick. He was baby A, and he was born at 5 pounds, 7 ounces, 19.5 inches at 11:16 on May 30th. I was told he looks like me, but now that I'm looking at it, I can't really tell. And sitting on Maverick's head, right here, was Mr. Sebastian. He was born at 11:17, so just 1 minute, on May 30th. 5 pounds, 14 ounces, like I said, at 19.5 inches. So they were the same length. Well, sort of. They came out nice and healthy. He obviously was a big boy. We didn't have to have them go to the NICU or special care nursery, which was really, really, really nice. And we were super, super thankful for that. They were breathing on their own and doing a great job. He always opens his eyes so much. He just wants to see all the things. So thank you again for joining me. I will see you next Thursday. Double guns. And we'll probably talk about what's happening right now. It's called the witching hour. I don't know why I did this. That made no sense. Guess what? Free little tip. It doesn't last an hour. Peace out.